Okay, so one of the things, if we continue this, for one of the things that also have taken place against me, among others, to make me feel even more unwelcome and sets more grounds for abuse against me, was basically accusation of me being so-called a Russian spy. If we continue, the CIA operations, which this actually were, with this international community of mob humanists, all in agreement and cooperation with the communists from Yugoslav or Slovenia. All these attempts, to hide the genocide and crimes which have taken place against me, and critical situations, crisis which they have continued to build against me, cluster, in order to completely destroy me, or as we are continuing, the CIA operations were preliminarily based on threats. Primarily they would come in the store and threaten. The threats, which would be basically indirect, but would be like severe threats, with questionnaire, with interrogations. And afterwards, the actions would take place. If I go back as an example, state what was actually, if I remind you of paranoia, for instance, schizophrenia, which was now in Norway and in Sweden suggested as per having these criminals coming and basically declining or I should say our previous acquaintance. Well, just that previously, or in Miami, I was actually threatened in 96, 97, 98 in the store by Americans who would enter the store and would actually threaten me that working in that environment gives the government opportunity for further persecutions against me, or in other words, grounds for excusing genocide as per if I would ever claim that or tell the truth what have taken place against me, I would be accused of schizophrenia or paranoia. And as an excuse, government would use simply my circumstances in Miami, which were work in the store, which have actually involved international community. So when you have so many people coming in and out, I understand, according to psychologists and psychiatrists, people tend to make mistakes, confuse people with other. So this actually gave the opportunity for the government to set more abuse. This is one example. Another example that I will talk about now was asking where I will go next. Where will I go next? As you see, before doing the things, they wanted to know where I would go next. Afterwards, boom, that's exactly where they have sent me people from. You said you want to go to Canada, where? Vancouver, that's the area you like? Okay, so the next thing you see, people from Vancouver, from Canada, were working in the store. You said you want to go to Sweden, where exactly would you go? Here? Okay, so you had people from there coming in, just so they could use them at later period to to what is actually terrorize, to actually suggest what is paranoia or schizophrenia. You see, that's how that works. Now we have the key to that. Now, as we move forward, what would you do next was one of the questions. If things would not work out for you in the United States of America, what would you do next? Please, what would I do next? What I would do next is what every victim that is persecuted would do next. I would talk to United Nations, Amnesty International, which are main human rights organizations. I would publish books. I would talk to as many people as possible and have them informed about what have taken place against me, so it would not happen to other people. and so I can get compensated for whatever was done against me. Simple. Oh, yeah? Okay, great. So now, when you have told us what you will do next, I tell you what, since we have this agreement with the communists, with the Yugoslavs, with Slovenians, and we have the crime we have to basically bring to the end, or this genocide we have to complete against you, what we will do against now, as we know what you will do, if things would not, what we will do things against you anyways, and what you plan on doing then against us, that only sets one something else. Or now we're going to go to what are known as extraordinary abductions or renditions. And what are the extraordinary abductions or renditions? This is actually nothing else than abduction or hijacking of people, basically grabbing them from the street or wherever they are, throwing them in a vehicle, whatever, on the plane, taking them to other countries, torture them, do with them basically whatever you want. Oh, yeah. That was actually what have happened to me coming next. According to the formula which have stated earlier, or what is the CIA operations were always, whenever they have taken place against me, primarily based on threats and afterwards actions. Basically threats and brainwashing, what that was, and afterwards it was the act that had taken place against me. And in this case, when I'm referring to extraordinary abduction or rendition, which was the next step that have taken place against me, the preliminary to that were actually interrogations. When you, as I will explain, they were actually questioning, or I should say, coming to the store and talking to me about these situations, this phenomena, which was taking place all over the world. I really didn't care about, I didn't want to know about, and didn't want to have anything to do with it. Because again, it's quite insane for somebody to come and talk to me about that crap. But you know what? It was actually extremely important for CIA. It was very, very important for this international mob, for these gangsters, for the humanists, and for these governments more than anything else. It was extremely important. You know why? Because if you only commit crime, what happens is afterwards victim will go and complain. So in order, you know, once the victim complains, and then you have trouble, you have issue. Okay, American disgusting parasites have invented new way of creating things. In fact, they realize that if you actually threaten person, primarily what is going to happen to him, or what have happened to other people, and basically that this can happen to you just about any time or any place. And people actually who are in CIA, or actually that are performing on behalf of the government, aren't really men in black or people as you see on TV with the dark glasses and this and that, but are actually quite everyday people that are involved in it. I'm not going to say everyday people, but people who quite frequently move through environments where you are. And they might be coming through from international channels, or they might, as well as mine, live in that environment and even work, as the case was in my case. If we continue, by doing such a thing, actually, by talking to an individual, that these things are actually almost part of the everyday, which was my case, where they were starting to tell me what have happened to this one, to that one, that is something completely normal. You actually start to convince person that this is the way of life. To be abducted is the way of life. And that's, my folks, that's called psychiatry. That's a psychiatry. That's a dangerous criminal CIA psychiatry, what that was, for one thing. Just like with other things. For other things, by telling me that this thing can be repeated and done to me anytime in the future, anytime basically they want to do, That's basically a double rape.